Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy.
Everything started in early March when my wife Natalie came home from work one Tuesday evening, absolutely electric with excitement about something new. She'd discovered this women's empowerment group on Instagram called the Minneapolis Women's Empowerment Circle through some targeted advertisement. She pulled up their profile to show me, filled with inspirational quotes about female solidarity, supporting each other without judgment, and living your authentic truth without apology. I thought it seemed harmless enough at first glance. Everyone needs friends and community, right? I was actually genuinely supportive of the idea initially. The first couple of weeks appeared completely innocent and positive. Natalie attended Saturday morning coffee meetups and Wednesday evening book discussions at various cafes scattered around the city. She'd return home genuinely energized and happy, talking enthusiastically about how refreshing it was to connect with women who understood her perspective on life and could relate to her experiences. I was sincerely pleased she'd found something that brought her genuine joy. Our marriage had been rock solid for 9 years. No major problems to speak of, just the typical ups and downs any long-term couple experiences together over time. But around the third week mark, I started noticing some concerning changes in her behavior and attitude toward me. The meetups became dramatically more frequent, jumping from twice weekly to 4 times, then 5 times per week. The evening events started running significantly later each time, without explanation. What began as 10 p.m. arrivals home turned into midnight returns. Then she'd stumble through the door at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night when she had to be at work by 8 a.m. the next morning. Whenever I'd ask where she'd been or express basic concern about her safety coming home alone at those hours, she'd immediately become defensive and hostile toward me. "I don't need to report my whereabouts to you like I'm some teenager with a curfew," she'd snap at me aggressively. I wasn't asking for detailed reports or seeking permission for her activities whatsoever. I was asking because when your wife of 9 years comes home at 2 a.m. reeking of cigarette smoke and wearing cologne that definitely isn't yours, you naturally wonder what's actually going on. That's not controlling behavior, in my opinion. That's being a concerned, caring partner in a committed relationship. Her entire vocabulary and manner of speaking shifted dramatically too, like someone had handed her a specific script to memorize word for word. Suddenly, every simple question I asked was immediately labeled controlling behavior or toxic masculinity. Every legitimate concern I expressed was me trying to reclaim my power over her or emotional manipulation. When I gently mentioned that her new friends seemed to have considerable drama in their personal lives based on their very public social media posts, I was threatened by female solidarity and couldn't handle her having independence. It genuinely felt like talking to a complete stranger who'd memorized some relationship conflict handbook. I started paying much closer attention to who these women actually were in real life, beyond the inspirational quotes. The group leader was a woman named Sienna, only 27 years old but already divorced once at that young age. Her Instagram feed was absolutely filled with posts about her extremely complicated, on-again, off-again relationship with a married university professor who kept making promises to leave his wife, but never actually did. Then there was Bailey, who had 3 children with 3 completely different fathers. She constantly posted their private text message conversations online, while simultaneously complaining they were all deadbeat dads, conveniently ignoring the fact that she collected substantial child support payments from every single one of them. And Sutton was currently on her 3rd engagement to yet another different man, while simultaneously pushing some multi-level marketing pyramid scheme every other week, each new venture supposedly being the real opportunity I've been waiting for. These were the specific women my wife had deliberately chosen as her primary life advisors and mentors on relationships. 3 people who collectively couldn't maintain a single stable long-term relationship between them. Yet they were confidently teaching her about marriage, healthy boundaries, and self-respect. One Tuesday evening in mid-March, everything reached a breaking point that fundamentally changed everything between us. We were sitting at our kitchen table, eating Chinese takeout directly from the paper cartons, something we used to do every single week back when we first got married. Back when things were simple and comfortable between us. I made what I thought was a completely reasonable observation about her needing to go out 3 separate times that particular week alone. Natalie looked me dead in the eye across our kitchen table like I just physically slapped her across the face. "I decide where I go and who I spend my time with, Marcus. You don't get a vote or saying that anymore. Period. End of discussion. I carefully set down my fork and really studied her face closely for a long moment. She'd noticeably changed over the past few weeks. New expensive jewelry I'd never seen before. A distinct sharpness in her eyes that hadn't been present a month earlier. The aggressive way she held her chin up high like she was constantly bracing for a confrontation or fight. "I'm not trying to control who you spend time with," I said calmly, keeping my voice level and measured. "I'm simply asking why you need to go out 3 separate times in just 1 week. Because I want to, because these are my friends and we genuinely support each other. We don't judge each other's choices like certain other people seem to constantly do around here." The obvious irony of her judging me, while simultaneously talking about not judging others, wasn't lost on me whatsoever. But I deliberately kept that particular observation to myself for the moment. "So when I ask where you're heading at 10 p.m. on a work night, that's me trying to control you?" Her face immediately flushed bright red with anger. "Yes, frankly it is. I'm an adult woman. I don't need permission to leave my own house. I never once said you needed permission from me. I asked because I genuinely care about your safety and our relationship together." She abruptly stood up from the table, her chair scraping loudly and harshly against the kitchen floor. "This is exactly what they specifically warned me you'd do. Turn everything around and make me feel guilty for simply wanting some independence. They?" I knew exactly who she meant. The women from her empowerment circle that she'd known for barely a month. Except from everything I could directly observe, it wasn't about genuine empowerment at all. It was primarily about drinking wine at completely inappropriate hours and endlessly complaining about their husbands and relationships. But apparently these were the specific people my wife of 9 years had chosen to trust over her own husband. "Independence is absolutely fine and healthy," I said very carefully, choosing my words deliberately. "But when your version of independence includes regularly coming home at 2 in the morning, smelling distinctly like cigarettes and someone else's cologne, maybe we should have an honest discussion about what's actually happening here." Her voice dropped to something cold and frighteningly final. "Maybe I don't owe you detailed explanations anymore about anything I do. Maybe I've been living my entire life according to what you think is appropriate and acceptable for far too long." The kitchen went completely silent, except for the steady hum of the refrigerator in the background. I really looked at her then, truly seeing her clearly. This wasn't the woman I married 9 years ago. This wasn't even remotely the same woman from 6 months earlier. "All right," I said finally after a long pause. "You're absolutely right about that, and your friendships are completely your choice. Your decisions are entirely your choice to make." She blinked rapidly, clearly expecting much more of a fight or argument from me. "Good. Finally you understand. And since we're having an honest conversation about choices and independence, I've got some significant choices of my own to make as well." The confidence in her expression flickered noticeably for just a brief second. "What's that supposed to mean exactly?" I stood up slowly and started clearing away the dishes from the table methodically. "It means if you want complete independence in all your choices, then I deserve the exact same independence in mine. That's only fair, isn't it?" She followed me directly to the sink, her tone shifting slightly. "Don't be overly dramatic about this. This is about friendship and personal growth, not about our marriage." "Is it really, though?" I turned around to face her directly. "Because from where I'm currently standing, you're getting serious life advice from women who fundamentally can't maintain their own relationships. 3 divorces between the 3 of them, 4 children with completely absent fathers, 7 different jobs lost in just the past year alone. But absolutely, they're perfectly qualified to tell you how to live your life." Her eyes narrowed dangerously at me. "Don't you dare insult my friends like that." "I'm not insulting anyone at all. I'm simply making a factual observation based on publicly available information they've posted themselves." "But you're completely right. It's not my place to judge anyone." I paused very deliberately for emphasis. "Your choices are deeply personal." The specific way I emphasized the word personal made her pause and reconsider the conversation. She wasn't stupid by any means. She could clearly hear the fundamental shift in my tone, could sense that something had changed permanently between us in those few moments. "What exactly are you planning to do?" she asked cautiously. "Nothing particularly dramatic at all. Just exercising my own right to make personal choices." She stared directly at me for a long, tense moment, trying hard to determine if I was bluffing about something. I absolutely wasn't bluffing. Fine, she said eventually, turning away from me. Maybe now you'll finally understand what real independence actually looks like and means. Oh, I replied very quietly. I'm definitely about to understand it extremely well. The entire situation had been steadily escalating over the previous 4 weeks, but that specific kitchen conversation was the definitive turning point for everything. I spent about 20 minutes that night on Instagram finding the group. Amazing how much people share publicly when they think nobody's paying attention to their posts. The profile was semi-public, visible enough to see the dynamics clearly at play between members. The feed was filled with wine bottles captioned Self-Care Sunday and quotes about leaving dead weight behind without regret. Photos from bars with hashtags like Freedom Feels and No Apologies. The comments section was a constant stream of members bashing their partners, cheering each other on for increasingly questionable behavior. One post particularly caught my attention. It was from 2 Saturdays ago, posted at 2 in the morning, a group photo at some uptown bar. Natalie was clearly visible in the photo, laughing, holding a cocktail. Her comment read, "Best night ever, finally feeling alive." The problem was she specifically told me she was at Sienna's apartment watching movies that night. I screenshot everything methodically. Call it paranoia or preparation, but something told me I'd need documentation eventually. 3 days later, on a Friday afternoon, Natalie came downstairs with a weekend bag already completely packed and ready to go. I immediately noticed she'd purchased new clothes, expensive designer ones I'd never seen before. The overnight bag itself was brand new too, probably cost several $100s easily. "The group is doing a wellness retreat up north this weekend," she announced matter-of-factly. "Leaving right after work today, back Sunday evening." I looked up from my coffee at the kitchen counter. A wellness retreat in March? It's going to be freezing up there. We're staying at the Suites Hotel in Duluth with complete spa amenities and everything. Very high-end and exclusive. I nodded slowly, deliberately noticing brand new lingerie visible in her half-opened bag, price tags still visibly attached to everything. Sounds quite expensive. It definitely is expensive. But we all decided together we absolutely deserve it. She paused, looking at me challengingly. Honestly, when's the last time you spent money on something that genuinely made you happy? Interesting question to ask, considering I'd spent my entire lunch hour the previous day researching qualified divorce attorneys in the Minneapolis area. You're absolutely right, I said evenly. Maybe it's definitely time I started seriously investing in my own happiness too. Something specific in my tone clearly caught her attention. What kind of investment are you talking about? Personal choices and decisions. Remember that conversation we just had? I'm completely sure you'll understand. Sienna picked her up at exactly 5 p.m. sharp. I watched from our front window as all 4 women piled into the car together, already actively passing a flask between them, before they'd even backed out of our driveway completely. Natalie never looked back at the house, even once, not a single glance. The exact moment her car disappeared around the street corner, I immediately went into focused action mode. First call was to my old college friend Landon in Chicago, who's an attorney, though he doesn't specifically practice family law himself. I need some information. Hypothetically speaking, how exactly does divorce work in Minnesota? There was a significant pause on his end. This about Natalie? Just gathering information and options for now. Landon sighed heavily. Minnesota's a no-fault divorce state. Means you don't need to prove any specific wrongdoing, just that the marriage is irretrievably broken beyond repair. Usually takes a few months total if it's uncontested by both parties. Why? What's happening with you two? I gave him the abbreviated version of events. The new toxic friends, the increasingly late nights out, the repeated lies about her actual whereabouts, this wellness retreat being planned with brand new lingerie involved. Jesus Christ, Landon said when I'd finished explaining everything. Look, I know an excellent guy in Minneapolis, Harrison Walsh. He's extremely sharp and doesn't mess around at all. Want me to send you his direct contact information? Yeah, definitely send it over. You absolutely sure about going down this path? Once you officially start the process, it's extremely hard to walk back from it. I'm not starting anything yet. I'm just making informed personal choices based on available information. All right, man. I'll text you his number right now. And Marcus, document absolutely everything you possibly can. Everything. Already doing that. I spent the next several hours methodically documenting our entire shared life together in careful detail. I carefully photographed every single room in our house, every piece of furniture we'd purchased together over the years, every appliance, every small detail of our shared existence. I pulled copies of all our financial records, bank statements, our official marriage license, all insurance documents, everything important and legally relevant. I'd already been systematically screenshotting Natalie's Instagram posts and the group's posts for 3 solid weeks, so I organized all those into detailed folders with accurate dates and timestamps for everything. Then came the practical financial matters that needed immediate handling. I opened my laptop and transferred exactly half of our joint savings account into a completely new personal account I'd set up the previous day. $18,400 exactly, down to the precise penny. Fair is fair. Then I started carefully packing 2 large suitcases with all essentials I'd absolutely need. Clothes, toiletries, important personal documents, things I'd need if I wasn't coming back to this house ever again. My younger brother Wyatt lives in Milwaukee, approximately 3.5 hours away by car. I called him immediately. Hey, can I crash with you for a while? How long is a while exactly? Might be permanent. Jesus, what the hell happened? I'll explain everything when I get there. Is your guest room currently available? Yeah, absolutely, of course. You doing okay? I will be eventually. Saturday morning at 9:47 a.m., I received a text from Natalie. Just finished our morning yoga session. So incredibly relaxing and peaceful. I immediately pulled up the Suites Hotel Duluth's official website. Absolutely no yoga facilities listed anywhere in their amenities section. Exactly 10 minutes later, Sienna posted an Instagram story showing all 4 women at the hotel bar holding mimosas. Duluth's skyline was clearly visible through the large windows behind them. Natalie was clearly visible in the background, laughing loudly, her hand resting casually on some random guy's shoulder. I immediately saved the screenshot with timestamp. The afternoon passed quietly as I systematically loaded my truck with all the packed items and boxes. My neighbor Delilah saw me from her front yard working. Going somewhere, Marcus? Just making some important personal choices, Delilah. She gave me a very knowing look that clearly said she understood far more than I'd actually stated out loud. Well, you take good care of yourself then. I definitely will. Thank you. At exactly 7:23 that evening, my phone rang unexpectedly. Unknown number displayed on screen. Hello? Hey man, is this Marcus? Male voice, mid-30s, noticeably slightly intoxicated. Who's asking? Look, I'm currently at the Canal Park bar up in Duluth right now. Your wife is here actively telling everyone she's separated from you. Just thought you should definitely know before things went any further tonight with these guys. My hand tightened involuntarily on the phone. Before what exactly? Before anything actually happens between them. She's buying rounds of drinks for everyone here. Took her wedding ring completely off her finger, actively telling people she's single and ready to move on with her life. My younger sister went through this exact same thing last year. Her so-called friends convinced her to completely trash her marriage for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. Totally destroyed her entire family. I just thought you genuinely deserved to know what's actually going on up here tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to call me about this. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Good luck with everything. He disconnected. I sat there motionless for a moment, phone still in my hand, feeling something cold and absolutely final settle deep in my chest. Then I immediately checked Instagram again. Bailey had posted exactly 7 minutes ago, a group photo from the Canal Park bar, precisely where the anonymous caller said they were located. Natalie was front and center wearing a tight red dress I'd absolutely never seen before in my life. No wedding ring visible anywhere on her finger. She was sitting close between 2 men laughing at something one of them had apparently said. The caption read, Girls Weekend, Freedom Weekend, Living My Best Life. Already 47 enthusiastic comments, mostly from other group members. You absolutely deserve this. Finally breaking free. Your happiness matters most. I saved that screenshot too with the timestamp. That night I sat alone at our kitchen table and wrote a letter completely by hand, not typed on computer, handwritten deliberately. More personal that way, more real and impactful. I kept it simple and purely factual. No anger, no begging, no pleading whatsoever, just the complete truth laid out in clear, direct terms she couldn't misunderstand. Natalie, you wanted to decide who you spend time with without any input from me. I completely respect that choice. You said I don't get a say in your decisions. You were absolutely right about that. Independence means living with all the consequences of your choices, not just the fun parts you enjoy. You told complete strangers this weekend that you were separated from me. I'm making that statement true starting now. Divorce papers will be filed Monday morning. My attorney will contact you Tuesday. You're free now. Completely free to live however you want. This is what you said you wanted. Marcus. I placed the letter in an envelope on the kitchen table. Then I removed my wedding ring for the first time in 9 years and set it directly on top of the envelope. By midnight, my truck was completely loaded with everything. I took one final look around the house we'd purchased together 5 years ago. The kitchen where we'd cooked dinners together, the living room where we'd watched movies on weekends, the bedroom where we'd made plans for a future that was never going to happen now. Then I locked the front door, left my house keys on the kitchen counter next to the letter, and drove to Milwaukee. Sunday afternoon, I was unpacking boxes in Wyatt's guest room when my phone started ringing constantly. Unknown number. Then another immediately. Then another right after. Wyatt poked his head in the doorway. Dude, you're seriously popular today. It's Natalie using different people's phones to call me. You gonna answer any of them? Absolutely not. The text messages started flooding in at 2:34 p.m. Marcus, answer your phone now. At 2:41. This isn't funny anymore. Where are you? At 2:55. I came home early. Why is the house like this? Where are all your clothes? At 3:12. Call me immediately. At 3:28. I found your letter. This is completely insane. We need to talk right now. I sent exactly one text message back. Check the kitchen table. Everything you need to know is there. Your independence starts now. Then I blocked all the unknown numbers and powered off my phone completely. Wyatt had been monitoring Natalie's social media through a fake account he'd quickly created specifically for this purpose. He showed me what she was currently posting online, an Instagram story at 3:45 that was deleted within minutes, but he'd screenshot it first. A crying selfie with the caption, "When you realize you made the biggest mistake of your entire life." A Facebook post at 4:02, "Has anyone seen Marcus Bradford? Emergency, please message me immediately if you know anything." The comments flooded in from her group members asking what happened and if she was okay. But the enthusiastic support and cheerleading she'd received all weekend long was notably completely absent now that real consequences had actually arrived. Monday morning, I sat across from Harrison Walsh in his downtown Minneapolis office. He was in his 50s, distinguished gray hair, sharp, observant eyes that had probably seen every possible version of this story play out countless times. I handed him the comprehensive folder I'd carefully prepared over the weekend. Screenshots organized chronologically, detailed timeline of all events, documentation of her lies and whereabouts, photos from the weekend showing her without her wedding ring on, financial records showing the equal split I'd already made. He flipped through it silently for several long minutes, examining everything carefully. This is remarkably thorough documentation. I'm a professional data analyst. I know how to analyze and document properly. Minnesota's a no-fault divorce state, so we don't technically need to prove wrongdoing or infidelity. But this documentation helps establish a very clear timeline and pattern of abandonment. I can file all the paperwork today, and she'll be officially served tomorrow. Are you absolutely certain this is final? Once it's in motion, it's extremely difficult to stop the process. I thought about her hand on that stranger's shoulder in the bar photo, her missing wedding ring in the pictures, the text I'd seen on her phone about perfect timing, her actively telling strangers she was separated from me. She was certain enough when she took off her ring and told complete strangers she was separated from me. I'm just making her version of reality actually true. Harrison nodded once firmly. All right then, let's proceed with filing. By Monday afternoon, Natalie had somehow tracked down Wyatt's apartment address. His girlfriend spotted her car sitting in the apartment parking lot from their window. She's been sitting there for over 30 minutes now, Wyatt told me over the phone. Looks really rough, man. You absolutely sure you don't want to talk to her at all? I'm completely sure. She's actively crying in her car. She made her choices deliberately. Now she gets to live with all of them. That evening, Natalie tried calling my workplace directly. My boss, Clayton, who I'd briefed that morning about the entire situation, had his assistant screen all calls from her number. She sent me multiple emails throughout the day and evening. I set up a filter to automatically archive them unread. She even called my parents down in Florida. They told her they fully supported their son's decision completely. Then she posted on Facebook, making everything public this time. Sometimes you don't know what you have until it's completely gone. I'm so sorry, Marcus. Please give me a chance to explain everything that happened. The comments were completely different now. Not the cheerleading and validation from her empowerment group members. Questions from old friends we'd known as a couple. Concerns from family members who cared about us. People asking what happened and if we were okay. But Sienna, Bailey, and Sutton were conspicuously completely silent. Tuesday morning, the official process server delivered the divorce papers to Natalie at her workplace. Her coworker later posted a vague Facebook status about watching someone's entire world crumble right there in the office during work hours. Natalie called me 47 times between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. I didn't answer a single one of them. That evening, she posted an Instagram story. I made terrible mistakes. I was influenced by people who didn't have my best interests at heart. Marcus, if you see this, please call me, please. The comments from her empowerment group members were notably completely absent from the post. Different voices appeared instead, people asking what happened and where her supportive friends were now. Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. sharp, aggressive doorbell ringing woke up the entire apartment. Wyatt answered the door to find Natalie's younger sister Kendall and her mother Vivian standing there looking determined and upset. We need to speak to Marcus, Kendall demanded firmly. Right now. He doesn't want any visitors. This is family. He needs to hear us out. I came to the door. I don't need to hear anything from anyone right now. Kendall stepped forward aggressively. She made a mistake. One mistake. You're seriously throwing away 9 entire years over one weekend? It wasn't one mistake, I said very calmly and clearly. It was 4 weeks of consistent choices. It was repeatedly lying about where she was going. It was taking off her wedding ring. It was telling complete strangers she was separated. Those aren't mistakes, Kendall. Those are deliberate decisions she made. Vivian, Natalie's mother, looked at me with exhausted, tired eyes. She's absolutely devastated. She hasn't eaten anything in 3 days straight. And I should care about the feelings of someone who clearly didn't care about mine when she was actively making those choices? You're being cruel, Kendall said accusingly. I'm being consistent. She wanted complete independence from my input and opinions. She has it now. Think about your future children together, Vivian said quietly. I'm not having children with someone I fundamentally don't trust anymore. I closed the door firmly. They pounded on it aggressively for another 5 minutes before finally giving up and leaving. Later that day, Kendall posted on Facebook about cold-hearted people who'd rather be right than happy. Vivian, surprisingly, left a comment that made me think she understood more than her daughter did. The full quote is, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Maybe he understands loyalty better than you think." Kendall deleted the entire post an hour later. Thursday afternoon, I was working remotely from a coffee shop near Wyatt's apartment when 3 women suddenly slid into the booth across from me completely uninvited. Sienna, Bailey, and Sutton, the empowerment circle, in person at last. We need to talk about what you're doing to Natalie, Sienna said directly. I closed my laptop very slowly. I'm not doing anything to Natalie. I'm removing myself from her life, which is exactly what she clearly said she wanted. She was just trying to find herself, Bailey protested weakly. And she found herself in a bar without her wedding ring, sitting with strange men, telling everyone she was single. Mission accomplished. You're punishing her for having friends, Sutton said. I pulled out my phone and showed them screenshots of their own public posts. The constant husband bashing. The encouragement to dump dead weight partners. The celebrations when members had marital problems. These are your own posts. You 3 collectively have 3 divorces, 5 broken engagements, 4 kids with absent fathers, 7 jobs lost between you in just the past year alone. But somehow you're qualified to give marriage advice? Sienna's face flushed bright red with anger. Our personal lives have nothing to do with... Your personal lives are exactly what you projected onto my wife. Misery loves company. You needed her to fail so you'd all feel better about your own failures. That's not fair, Bailey said weakly. You know what's not fair? Convincing a woman in a stable 9-year marriage to throw it all away so you'd feel better about yourselves. Sutton tried one more desperate angle. If she completely cuts us off, will you reconsider the divorce? You're asking if I'll take back a wife who only changes her behavior when faced with serious consequences? That's not real change, that's panic. The answer is no. I left cash for my coffee and walked out without looking back at them. That evening, I received an anonymous text from an unknown number. Someone had screenshot the empowerment group's private messages and sent them to me, probably an ex-boyfriend or angry former member seeking revenge. The messages showed them panicking and blaming each other for how badly their advice had backfired on Natalie. Sienna, I told you guys she wasn't ready for full independence. Bailey, you're the one who kept saying men need to be taught lessons. Sutton, maybe we should have encouraged counseling instead of this. The empowerment circle was eating itself alive. Friday afternoon, I got an unexpected call from Natalie's boss, Clayton. He and I had met at several company social events over the years and had always gotten along well. Marcus, I'm calling as a professional courtesy. Natalie's work performance has declined significantly. She's missed 3 days this week, and today she broke down crying during an important client meeting. I know something serious is going on personally. Is there any possibility of reconciliation? I hate to see this affecting her career like this. The divorce is proceeding as planned. What she does with her career is entirely her choice to make. Understood, I had to ask. That evening, my old college roommate Griffin called me. Man, I saw Natalie at Target earlier today. She looked absolutely destroyed, like physically different. What the hell happened? I explained the full story from beginning to end, holding nothing back. Jesus, Griffin said when I finished. I had no idea any of this was happening behind the scenes. She'd been telling people here, you were being controlling and unreasonable. Of course she did. That was easier than admitting the truth to herself and everyone else. For what it's worth, seeing her now, she clearly knows she messed up badly. Knowing it and living with it are two completely different things. 2 weeks after I'd left the house, Natalie reached out requesting to meet in person. I agreed, choosing a neutral Caribou coffee location in Richfield, far from both our workplaces and homes. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table 15 minutes early. She looked like she hadn't slept properly in days. No makeup, clothes hanging loose on a frame that had noticeably lost considerable weight, hair pulled into a messy ponytail. I sat down across from her without ordering anything at all. You said this was urgent. I need you to understand what happened to me. I was confused and thought, those women made everything seem so simple, like you were the problem holding me back from being happy and fulfilled. And now I see they were actually the problem all along. I cut them all off completely, blocked every one of them, deleted Instagram entirely, everything. Good for you. You learned an important lesson about trust. She leaned forward desperately across the table. So, we can work on fixing this? We can go to marriage counseling together? There's nothing to fix. It's already broken beyond repair. But I changed. I see exactly what I did wrong now. You changed because you faced serious consequences. That's not growth, Natalie. That's panic. Real, meaningful change happens before consequences arrive, not after they hit you. Tears started streaming down her face freely. I love you. I never stopped loving you. You loved having me as a safety net while you experimented with being single. That's not the same thing as loving me as your husband. I wasn't experimenting with being single. I was trying to find myself. You found yourself in that bar without your wedding ring, telling men you were separated and available. You found exactly who you really are, deep down. That wasn't the real me. That was the wine, the pressure from the group influencing me. Adults don't get to blame wine and peer pressure for their choices. You made conscious decisions. Own them. Her voice broke completely. What do you want me to do? Get on my knees? Beg you to take me back? I want you to understand that actions have real consequences in life. You wanted independence and freedom from my input. You have it now. All of it. So that's it? 9 years means absolutely nothing to you? I stood up from the table. 9 years meant everything to me, right up until you decided they didn't matter anymore. I walked out. Through the window, I could see her sitting there, sobbing into her hands. A barista approached her after a few minutes, probably asking if she was okay. She left without answering them. 2 weeks later, Harrison called with an update on the case. Natalie's attorney is requesting formal mediation. She's willing to let you keep the entire house outright, if you'll agree to delay the divorce proceedings for 6 months. Why would she offer that? Between you and me, I think she's hoping you'll change your mind during a delay period and reconcile. No delay whatsoever. Standard equal division of everything. House gets sold, we split the proceeds down the middle. You're sure? The housing market's actually quite good right now. You could keep it and buy her out. I don't want anything that reminds me of who I thought she was. Over the following month, I watched from a distance as everything fell apart spectacularly for the empowerment group. Sienna's married professor got caught when his wife discovered their text messages. He faced disciplinary action at the University of Minnesota, and Sienna lost her side job doing social media management for his department. She posted a desperate status about being used and betrayed by men. Bailey's children's fathers both filed for formal custody evaluation, using her party lifestyle posts as direct evidence against her parenting. She made her account private and deleted most of her posts, eventually posting an apology for giving advice she wasn't qualified to give. Sutton's third fiancé called off their wedding after discovering the massive debt she'd accumulated from failed multi-level marketing schemes. Her engagement ring appeared on Facebook Marketplace 3 days later. She posted a long apology about encouraging behavior she couldn't live with herself. And Natalie posted her own public statement. I destroyed my marriage by listening to people who couldn't maintain their own relationships. I take full responsibility for everything. Marcus was right about absolutely everything. 3 months after I'd filed the paperwork, we met at the Hennepin County Courthouse for the final hearing. It was brief, procedural, almost anticlimactic after everything that had led to this moment. Natalie looked smaller than I remembered, paler, older somehow. She tried to make eye contact with me several times during the proceedings. I looked straight ahead at the judge throughout. The judge reviewed the papers quickly. The marriage is hereby dissolved. Division of assets as agreed upon. 11 minutes total, 9 years of marriage, reduced to 11 minutes and a judge's signature on legal documents. Outside the courthouse, Natalie lingered by the steps while her attorney tried to gently guide her toward their car. Finally, she approached me directly before I could reach my vehicle in the parking lot. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes, please? What's left to say that hasn't already been said? That I understand now. That I see what I had and what I threw away for absolutely nothing. Good. Hold on to that understanding. It'll help you avoid making the same mistake with someone else in the future. You mean that? I mean in general, with friends, family, whoever comes next. Understanding that people have value before you lose them forever. Do you hate me? No, I don't hate you at all. Do you still love me? I thought about that carefully before answering honestly. I love who you were 9 years ago. I don't know who you are now. I'm trying to become a better person. Be better for yourself, not for me, not for any man, for you. Are you seeing anyone new? That's not your concern anymore. That's a yes then. That's a we're divorced now. My life is my own. She nodded slowly, accepting it finally. I see you sometimes around town. You look happy now. I am happy. I'm glad. I mean that sincerely. You deserve to be happy. So do you. Just not with me in the picture. If I had it to do over, but you don't. Nobody does. That's exactly why choices matter so much in life. Will you ever forgive me for what I did? I already have forgiven you. Forgiveness is for my own peace of mind, not for your comfort. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation or getting back together. What does it mean then? It means I hope you find what you're looking for in life. I hope you learn from this experience, and I hope you become someone who values what they have, just not with me in your life. We stood there in silence for a long moment. The spring sun was warm on my face. Somewhere nearby, someone was laughing, life continuing on around us while ours together officially ended forever. Take care of yourself, Natalie. I walked to my car without looking back. In the rearview mirror, I could see her still standing on those courthouse steps, watching me drive away. Her attorney finally put a hand on her shoulder and guided her toward their car. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I'd successfully built an entirely new life from scratch. I'd moved into a small, modern condo in Minneapolis's North Loop neighborhood. Clean, modern, completely mine alone. Work had promoted me to senior analyst with a significant raise in salary. I'd reconnected with old friends I'd neglected while trying to manage the crisis of my failing marriage. Started coaching youth basketball at the YMCA, saw Wyatt regularly, our relationship stronger than it had been in years. And I was dating someone new. Nothing too serious yet, but something with genuine potential and promise. We'd met organically at a coffee shop, started talking about books we both enjoyed, discovered we had similar senses of humor and compatible life values. She was genuinely kind, honest, straightforward about what she wanted from life. Everything Natalie had stopped being. One Saturday afternoon, I was at the Whole Foods downtown when I saw her unexpectedly. Natalie was in the produce section with her mother, looking healthier than she had at the courthouse, but still carrying visible sadness in the way she moved and held herself. Our eyes met across the store, a brief moment of recognition, a small acknowledging nod from both of us. No conversation, no drama, no scene. Just two people who used to share an entire life together, now living completely separate existences. She continued shopping with her mother. I finished my shopping and left. Sometimes people who know the whole story ask if I ever regret how I handled everything. The answer is honestly no. Not the decision itself, anyway. I regret that it had to happen at all. I regret that she chose to listen to people who led her astray. I regret that 9 years ended in a courthouse in 11 minutes. But I absolutely don't regret refusing to be someone's backup plan. I don't regret demanding basic respect in my relationship. I don't regret showing her that choices carry real weight and lasting consequences. Natalie wanted complete independence, wanted to make choices without anyone questioning them, wanted freedom from accountability to anyone. She got exactly what she asked for. And honestly, so did I.